Hey everyone, welcome to the Acrobatic Arts Podcast. I'm Loren, and I will be interviewing some of the top leaders and innovators from the dance and acrobatic industry. If you are a teacher, performer, student, or a lifelong learner like myself, you are sure to find these episodes intriguing and full of inspiration. Acrobatic Arts is passionate about providing current and relevant information for everyone. So please, sit back and enjoy as we share our passion with you and the world. For today's episode, we have the founder of Acrobatic Arts, Mandy Yip, talking with certified acro teacher, Kelly Peterson. Kelly, like so many of us, found herself teaching online during the first lockdown. Let's listen to their conversation.
Good morning, everyone. Kelly, I just want to ask you a few questions about you, and then we'll get into your story a little bit. So can you tell us, again, where you're from and what the name of your studio is and how you got involved with acrobatic arts in the first place?
My name's Kelly Peterson. I live in Clarion, Pennsylvania. That's where the studio is located also. The owner of the studio is Amanda Gallagher. She is acrobatic arts certified as well. She does not teach the program. She took it just for her own knowledge. I teach 9 acro classes throughout the week. We have about 150 to 175 students in total. And I also am the owner of Guidance Experience, which is a dance competition, the only YPAD dance competition actually in the world right now. We hope more will join us. That's my story, and that's where I'm from.
Yeah. I just want to say that about the Guidance Experience competition is something, if you don't know about it yet, definitely look it up, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now. And as a member of YPAD and one of the people who's on AP, I really appreciate that you took the time to go through that process and make sure that all of the people in your organization are vetted. That's awesome. That's another story for another day. Today, I want you to tell me a little bit about how you got involved with acrobatic arts. How did you get started with us?
So the studio was already certified, and last January I went to Mississippi to get my certification since I was taking over the program here at the studio. I do have 2 roles here. I am also the office manager, so I take care of all of that end, and then now I teach all the acro. I have honestly looked at the app for the last 3 years. We purchased it here, so the old acro teacher had it, and also the manual. So I secretly have been studying it before I was actually certified, which helped greatly. Took my certification in Mississippi. I do not have the back handspring and aerial certification, which I'm hoping for, but I know that's not going to be possible until we go live. Which is fine. I can wait, but there's been like so many great things this summer that has been provided by Acrobatic Arts so I've already gained some knowledge on that. So that's how our studio has been certified. I recently got certified, and just the app is the best amazing thing that I own, I swear.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about what your studio life looked like 6 months ago. What happened when, March or when it sort of started for you guys? What did that look like? Did you guys have to shut down? Tell us a little bit about that.
So I want to say it was March 17th. I actually just got back from Boston. We had a Guidance Experience event that weekend, and we were nervous that we weren't going to have that competition at all. That's when things started to come up, but nothing had officially closed yet. I came back. The next weekend at the studio was actually picture weekend. We had our photographer fly in from Miami on that Friday. That Friday at 4:00, our governor announced that everything is shut down. So here's our photographer on a plane. I called the Department of Health. I said, this is what we're doing this weekend. Is this permitted? We continued with picture weekend if you wanted to. He flew back, and that was the end of it. We didn't have class Monday. Because I'm so familiar with Zoom and all of this stuff, I actually started to prep for online classes that week before it happened. The owner of the studio, she's like, I don't know what you're doing. just do it. So we had, when there was picture weekend, I actually had test runs with parents via Zoom to teach them how to log on. Because of Misty Lown and all of her knowledge and calls that she was doing, I created our own resource page. All of our links were on there. I used Dropbox also to like upload links and stuff too, so that everyone had their own links to classes. Because I'm very on the safety end of the safety side of things, like we already did all those links with, the passwords, and, nobody could get in until the teacher let them in, which was great because I feel like a lot of people were like, wait, now we have to change things on Zoom, where we didn't have to take those extra precautions they were taken from the beginning. So everything went Zoom. Our studio runs until the beginning of May. We actually are one that our recital is usually Mother's Day weekend. So we lucked out on that end of it. We didn't have months of classes to finish. Right. We continued through April. And the week that we shut down, we actually changed. We had a spring break week and we changed it. We took that week off when we shut down and then came back the next week. And then we went through that spring break. So luckily we had that advantage to take that week off and just switch that out. And then we actually shut our studio down 2 weeks early. Zoom was okay, but we live in a very rural area, and a lot of our kids don't even have internet. Myself, if you call me at my house, it's hit or miss of whether you're actually going to be able to hear me. The owner doesn't even, like, there's not even internet. Like, there's no internet provider that would go to her house. She actually just got Usenet, I think, a month ago. So I can't imagine. We actually had to come to the studio as staff to do these classes because our internet wasn't good enough. So we shut down 2 weeks early. It was exhausting for us to continue to try to do this. And we decided we were going to take those 2 weeks and add them in August, hoping that things cleared up. So shut it down. We did that. And then the owner and I actually continued with online classes. I did stretching and strength, and she did anything from hip hop to ballet to, that type of thing. And we did it for free. We put it out on Facebook. I actually had, a local studio, Butler, Center for the Performing Arts. Their kids jumped on to my calls. So it was great. It was a great community feeling that you could take these free classes. And your kids could, because some studios weren't doing anything. They weren't open, they weren't doing Zoom, they weren't doing anything. So it was, simple stretching and strength building, but it was still something to keep them active. So we did that through May, and somewhere in between there, I decided I was going to do this 4-week acro program online. It was really just me. Okay, I'm going to do this. Let's see how it works. And I said to Ajo, the owner, what do you think? She goes, you can try it. So I said I was only going to take 10 to 12 kids. The biggest thing was parent involvement. I wanted a parent present whenever we did these Zoom classes. Even though we weren't doing tricks or new tricks or expecting kids to do things that they weren't able to, I still felt more comfortable with a parent involved. Right. So the 4-week program, I also required that they purchase the Acrobatic Arts app for their level. So
you're talking about the My Acro app version, right? Not the teacher one?
Correct. Yes. So they had to download the My Acro app on an iPad or phone. I recommended if they could do it on an iPad, that would be better. Just it's bigger to be able to see. And we did a half-hour assessment. Even though I knew the kids, I still wanted to assess them per the app.
Okay.
After that half-hour assessment, I let the teacher or the parents know which level to purchase. And then we went from there. We only did half-hour Zoom calls for those 4 weeks. They were required. I'm not sure if people are familiar with Band. Are you familiar with Band, the Band app? Yeah. Okay, so we use the Band app a lot. So I created a Band app just for this program. And they were required, they had homework, they had required to send me videos of them doing their splits, them doing strengthening, strength, them doing tabletops, so that I could see, are your ankles together? Are your knees together? Are your hands facing your toes? Is your head in line? So they had to send that, and then I would give them feedback throughout the week. And then whenever their half-hour private was the next week, we would work on that, correct that, see if the corrections were made. We focused, during that 4-week program, we mostly focused on balancing if there was area to do so, and some tricks if I knew that they could do them 100% at least 10 times in a row, but mostly it was stretching and strength building.
Right. Okay, well that was a lot. So when you started out at the beginning of this whole thing, you guys were just running things for free, and it was just sort of available for everyone, which is awesome. But free doesn't pay the bills. And so I guess somewhere in there you decided that there was a way for you to actually make money as well while you were doing this. And these private lessons, if I'm understanding correctly, the 10 students that you took on, they paid for those private lessons. Is that right?
They did. I actually was only going to take 10 students, and that ended up being about 19.
Wow.
Because I thought that it was going to be like, oh, okay. Like, we didn't know, some parents were out of jobs. Some parents were just, like hesitant about doing things on Zoom. Yeah. So I didn't know. In my brain, I was like 10 kids, because that's a lot to do on Zoom.
Yeah.
And yeah, it ended up being 19. And I actually think I told 1 or 2 no, that like we would catch you on the next round. So it was 19. I charged, I think, around $100 because I was doing 1 half-hour private a week with them via Zoom. And then the rest was videos and kind of like homework assignments through Band.
Okay, so each student got a half an hour a week with you, and they had 6 sessions, is that right?
4.
4 sessions.
Yes.
Then four half-hour private lessons with you, and then you also sent out homework and other things throughout the week. And I'm assuming that homework and stuff that you had to curate, you were able to use that for multiple students, as long as it was within the same level.
Yes. Right? So after I assessed them, I had them all organized by, okay, these are my level 2s. These are the people who purchased level 4. Yeah. So that was my 19 kids. And we typically do not have a source of income in the month of May, with the exception of the recital, which is a huge source of income.
Yes, that's right. So that's $1,900 that I guess you wouldn't have had otherwise, right? Mm-hmm. I'm just going to show people what the My Acro app looks like in case people aren't aware. So this is an app that the kids can download. They download the app for free from the App Store, but then they have to purchase the level that they want to use. So I guess what you're saying, Kelly, is that after you did your initial assessment with them, then you told them which level they needed to purchase. Correct. And then they would purchase that level. And when you go into this app, just for the teachers who aren't aware, it'll have all of the skills that are in that particular level, but you can't access any other level unless you pay for it. So the students would only have access to the level that they, actually need. And then just like the regular app, they can download the videos, they can watch them, they can, read about the focus, and they can also compare their own self with the video to make sure that they're doing everything correctly. So that is a really great tool, especially with the Zoom sort of thing that was happening with you. Yeah,
the tool honestly is a lifesaver. Probably, I told you, Mandy, before the call, it's like my Bible. I take it into the classroom, even now, even the advanced class. Last night we did, I had the advanced kids for an hour and a half, and I looked at different variations, and that's what we worked on last night. Things that they already knew. There was no touching going on, and it was kind of fun. They had fun with it. Right.
Okay, so let's go back to, so now we're in like June, I'm guessing, and You've done your first 4-week session. And tell me a little bit about the punch card. Did that come after the first 4-week session? Okay, tell me about that. It seemed like a really brilliant idea.
We did the 4 weeks, and everybody wanted more. And people who didn't sign up, we're like, can we do this now? In May, our county opened up like the restaurants were allowed to open up. So that's when we were allowed to actually have people in here. I want to say the limit was 25 or 10 at that time. So I started the 6-week thing, and it was buy 5, get 1 free. I, again, did not charge. I know there's lots of people who are way more, advanced with me in teaching and everything. I charged $150 for it's 6 hours is what it comes to. With it being summer, I also said it didn't have to be 6 weeks in a row. People still vacationed here a lot, but they might have went camping even. It's not like, they flew to Florida or anything. There's a lot of camping around here. So I didn't want to make it feel like, okay, if you miss a week, you don't get to make that up. So it kind of was like drug out throughout the summer, but I wanted it all really done by the end of July if possible. Again, my goal was 20 people because I was like, okay, my goal was 10 last time. My goal is going to be 20. I ended up, I believe, with 34.
Wow.
I did not promise in person, even though we were open at that time. The studio still, we did 2-day camps, and they were successful, but it wasn't necessarily comfortable. Just with people in and out of the studio. So we did those 2 camps, and that was it. That was the only summer camp that we did, was those 2, besides this acro program. So we just stuck with the acro program, sold, I believe, 34 at $150. That's, to be honest, that's probably as much, if not more, than what we would have made off of our regular summer camps.
Really?
And it was just me here, along with the student. Do you want me to tell them how I set up my studio?
Yeah, that would be great.
So I didn't promise. I didn't promise that it would be in person because we just didn't know what would happen. Would we go backwards? So it was again, and if you wanted to do Zoom, you could do Zoom. I left that option open. I actually had, do you know what butcher paper is?
Yeah.
Okay, so I laid white butcher paper down in 3 studios and then a mat, probably about 3 mats connected together. And there was a chair in there along with sanitizing. We also told the kids that they needed to purchase their own yoga blocks because we used them a lot since it was a lot of stretching and strength and things like that. So they were required to bring their own yoga blocks. Parents were allowed to come into the studio, but only if they stayed in the private. This was for the studio's sake, to benefit from, a parent just walking around, using the restroom, sitting on the couches. We didn't want to have to sanitize the entire building after every, I have 35 1-hour privates a week going on right now. So trying to sanitize the entire downstairs isn't a possibility. And we have a huge lobby. So there's a lot of places you can be. So it was either drop your child off or stay in, wear your mask, sit in the chair. So the kids took their shoes off on the white paper, and then they stepped directly onto the mat. Therefore, my floor wasn't being, utilized, nothing like that. And the parent could watch if they wanted, and I have no problem. I actually enjoy the parents watching so that they know what's going on and how the kids are. And for the most part, I think I only had 1 student that continued on Zoom, and the rest were all in person. Throughout this process, there was sometimes that the children were like, but I'm not learning anything new, and I'm not learning anything exciting. I just, talked to Mandy about this. Again, this is where the app honestly saved me. This 6 weeks made me grow so much as a teacher. I had, I'm going to use the owner's daughter. She's 5, and she could do a really nice cartwheel. And then one day I saw that she was like, okay, this is getting repetitive. Like, I'm stretching, I'm doing strength, I'm doing cartwheels, I'm doing forward rolls, all things that she knew she could do perfectly. So I said, okay, I go to the app and see variations of cartwheels. I was like, this child can do a cartwheel from the knee. So I show her the video of it on the app, and she does the cartwheel from the knee. She's super excited. She goes home. She is doing cartwheels from the knees for weeks and super excited about it. So that made me realize that's what I need to do with these children. If you have a back walkover, so the children that had back walkovers, we did switch leg back walkovers. We did back walkovers to arabesque. We did back walkovers to kneeling. We did yogi walkovers. We did, different front walkovers. So all I did was took what they already knew how to do safely and got them excited because we did a different variation of it.
A really easy way to find them. I find this is also a great thing when I'm teaching, and the kids get sort of bored. Doing variations really can spice up your class and make them feel like they're learning something new, even though you're really still working on foundations. So when you're in the app, if you go to the syllabus, and then where it says search by name, if you just type in cartwheel and press go, it'll bring up everything that has cartwheel in the name. And so there's all kinds of interesting cartwheels that maybe you haven't thought of before that your dancers probably can do. And they wouldn't need a spot to learn how to do a head cartwheel, for example, or a forearm cartwheel. And the same thing is true of many, many skills that we teach our kids. So you could do the same thing with walkover. You could type in the name walkover and then just look at all of the different walkovers that the app brings up. There's tons and tons of them. And if they have a great walkover, all of these different variations probably can be accomplished without them having to learn anything new or need a spot. But they'll feel like they're learning something new, right? Was that your experience, Kelly?
Yes, they loved it. They all thought we learned a new trick. And it's really something you already knew how to do. We just did a different variation. Also, it's really nice that most of these things can be done on Acro Island. Starting this semester, I've used Acro Island with our little kids, and it's amazing how many things, even straddle rolls, you could do 2 to 3 straddle rolls on an Acro Island. So if you're on Acro Island right now, I feel like there's do you feel like there's a lot of people, Mandy, doing Acro Island? I feel like I've seen a lot of pictures.
Yeah, we're all on Island, so all my students have their own mat. We are using Pilates mats because we can't even have mats in the studio. Everything had to be removed from the studio completely. So the kids each bring their own Pilates mat. The Pilates mats are just a little bit thicker and they're a little bit bigger, so they work better for acro than just a yoga mat, although the yoga mat would probably work too. And yeah, they're all in their own box doing their own stuff, and we aren't able to touch them at all. So variations, little transitions, those are great things to do with them so that they feel like they're learning something new, even though they're still really working on the foundations of that front walkover or that cartwheel.
Yes, I think I've watched everything that you put out this summer, which also is great. Trying to let parents know and try to explain to parents that learning their progressions the correct way is hard, but they will see the results. Throughout this, she was 8 when it started, but she is now 9. She couldn't even do a standing back bend. And when you guys did some kind of a live about how spotting isn't necessary. If we go through the correct progressions, you really don't need to spot very many things, especially with the younger kids. This child went from not being able to do a standing back bend to now being able to do probably 6 different variations of a back walkover, her 16 count back bend recover, and without a spot. After she achieved her 16 count back bend recover, I said, do a front walkover. And she looked at me like, are you going to come here and touch me? And I said, no. And she did it perfectly the very first time. Her front walkover is probably about as good as some of our advanced kids. And it was just because of progressions. The progressions work. They take time, but they truly work.
Yeah, you and I were talking a little earlier. You were telling me that one of the challenges that you had when you first implemented acrobatic arts was the parents sort of fighting you guys on that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's a really common experience for lots of our teachers.
So my daughter taught here previously. She's also acrobatic arts certified, and that was what we were seeing with her. She is younger, so I feel like because younger teachers sometimes feel the need to please everyone, and which is normal. So she she was seeing parents or kids maybe not thrilled about having to do so much strength training and balancing, and they weren't seeing the results immediately. Um, so it was hard for her to not be like, okay, let's just go across the floor and do walkovers, or because everyone wants tricks. My class, once I took over it, and I also have to say that the owner of the studio supports me 150%. Like, this is the way we're doing it, and this is the reason why, which Mandy has provided all of those resources of why we do it the way we do it. So if a parent questions me, like, I fall back on that. And honestly, if they're not okay with that, then they're probably not right for our program. Like, we have to follow the safety. You can't do back handsprings when you can't even do a back limber. Like, in the same way, I have kids that can do front walkovers and can't do 16 count back bend recovers. It's honestly one of my biggest pet peeves right now, because I have made kids go back even this summer with this 6-week course. People are doing back walkovers. Their hands are too wide. Their head's not where it should be. A million things. I could just tear it apart. And I say to the kid and the parent, okay, we're gonna go backwards. Let's go back to our standing back bend. Why are our feet turning out? Why are we not parallel? Why are we dropping our foot whenever, we go over to kick over? So there's all of these things that I've actually had to work backwards and ask the parents to respect that decision and let them know that if you let me go back 5 spaces, we will go ahead 10 quicker than what we would doing it the way that we're doing it right now.
That's so true. It's a difficult sell. It's a difficult sell to say we're going to go backwards, but trust me, when it's time to go forwards, we're going to run instead of walk. But it is so true, and I've seen it 100 times. So I know that there's science behind that it really does work, but it is difficult to get parents and dancers on board. And so I think you have to sort of keep all of those things in mind. And that's another reason why transitions and little variations of skills can make class exciting while we still maintain the integrity of the program by working on the foundations that are so important. One of the things that I find as a pet peeve is when somebody comes into the studio who's going to work with my students and they start giving them really big tricks and the kids are getting them really quickly. And the parents and the students are thinking, well, this teacher really knows what she's doing because she's come in and now they've got, tricks that they didn't have last week. But really, all the work that went in the months and the years previous is what made that one day special and possible, which is why I don't usually let people come in and do that, because it kind of ruins the whole process for me. But it really does happen. And so when I have the opportunity to do that and I get to tell the students, just like you did that day, we're going to do front walkover today, and they get it first try. It is such an exciting thing, and it gives you credibility again, so that you can continue with the program and make sure that you're making all those foundations really strong before you work on the next thing.
Yeah, we last year we had 8 acro classes. This year we have 9, so I'm going to say that the program is growing. I don't know what the normal is, Mandy. Like, I don't know how many.
Well, I know it's not normal to have a program grow this year. The norm this year is the classes are down around, I was just talking to some other industry professionals, and it's between 25 and 50% of the students have dropped. So if you're doing better than 25 to 50%, then, and if you're growing, certainly you're outpacing the rest of the industry.
Yes. Our competition dancers are required to take acro. It's mandatory. And it's not for tricks. It's for strength and flexibility. That's that. Like, we're not honestly a huge, like, no one would consider us an acro studio. The owner's certified. Acro scares her. She'll tell you that. Like, acro scares her. And we don't put a ton of acro stuff in dances. Competition dances, or we do put walkovers, and we do have a couple kids that are very acro. My niece herself, she has an acro dance, and of course there's back tucks and, you know what I mean? Like all different kinds of things, but that's not our specialty to say. Like no one would say, dancer studio is, however, I think I might be changing that a little bit.
Right.
So the only thing is I don't choreograph, so that's where the owner's gonna have to come back in. And I like not having to choreograph at this point. I like to take that hour because you really do need it. I break the class into 5 sessions. So you do cardio and then you stretch and then we do balancing and then we do limbering and then we do tumbling. And it's a struggle to get through all that in 5, in an hour. This year we increased the advanced class to an hour and a half and I love it. I think that they love it because I'm like, okay, we're done. And they're like, we're done already? Yeah, so, and I do use the assessment cards. Like, I have the old school ones, but every single class has these. It's great for them to be able to see where they're at, what they need to do, and I think it's encouraging them, especially with the splits. Like, oh, there is a whole section that's on stretching, and in order for me to get a green card, I need to get all these. And I did Alexa Flexibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she has an amazing program. If you're struggling with flexibility, that is a really good place to go. And because of the pandemic, she's doing everything online right now. So it's made it, in some ways, cost effective for you to get higher education during the pandemic. But then you've also got sort of the downside of not having as much income in most cases. So it's kind of a catch-22 there. But I think if you can swing it, it's a really great time to get certified in some of these other organizations that have awesome programming. This has been really enlightening, Kelly. I really appreciate your time. We're excited because with the launch of our new app, the My Acro app and the teacher app are actually going to be together in this new program so that you can give your students levels without them having to pay for it on the App Store. So that means that the teacher can actually charge the students to use those levels and make a little bit more income on that side of it as well. Which I think would work perfectly with the program that you're just talking about. So teachers, if you haven't already checked that out, definitely check it out and learn a little bit more about the new app that we are launching here in November. And I just want to say thank you one more time to you, Kelly, for letting us know how you made this all work. It's been really fun chatting with you.
Thank you. Without your program, it wouldn't have been possible.
Thanks. All right, have an awesome day. Bye, teachers.
Thank you.
The pandemic. Restrictions, lockdown. Do you remember when everything went Zoom? Whether you are teaching in person in a studio, practicing social distancing, or teaching online, I truly wish you all the best in the months and years to come. Thanks for listening, everyone, and have a great day.